Sheikh, for life.
Sheikh, I have another question.
SubhanAllah. This is deep.
What?
I just picked this book up, sitting in the library, American History. This isn't my book. Somebody put it there. It says here on page 202, 1980, graying of the nation. The 1990 census revealed the graying of America. Citizens in their 90s more than doubled in the 80s, while the number of those over 100 grew by over 3/4. Americans were healthier than ever, and they were also on the move, with more and more being drawn from the Midwest and the Northeast to the Sun Belt, the South and West, where they tended to settle in larger communities. The traditional family unit continued to decline, with more Americans living alone, opting not to have children, functioning as single parents, forming blended families, or in same-sex relationships. This is obviously an old book, huh?
Yeah.
It's interesting, huh? Fadl. شاي بالله. الله يستر حمزة. كنت خذها لك تجيب الشاي صح؟
It
may need sugar.
بسم الله.
Sheikh doesn't like a lot of sugar.
بسم الله. تفضل أبير.
Sheikh, what do you do in this situation where there are parents that are forcing their children to marry someone famous? Well, marry someone because they're famous, when the child doesn't want to marry into a family that's famous or well known.
In general, the parents, they don't have the right to force everything upon you. You have to listen and obey in every single thing. Try your best to please your mother, please your father, try your best. But at the end of the day, if you know for sure it's a bad move for your deen and your dunya, both, and they're forcing you blindly, and they're not bringing you nothing strong, clear, I'm sorry, but I can't. It's going to be a bad idea for you. Let alone what? For me. And perhaps, by your passion, perhaps your parents, they'll see the light. Perhaps they'll get it. Just by knowing you, what type of son you are. There's no way I would just directly disobey you, Umi, unless I know for sure in my heart that this is the wrong thing to do. And perhaps, inshallah, in the future, they'll thank you for that. Then obviously there are different discussions with regards to, does a Muslim have to obey his parents in marriage? Does a Muslim have to obey his father in talaq? If your parents are like Umar, that's a different story. If your father's like Umar, for the deen, get rid of her, son. Trust me, she's no good for you. What do you mean, Abby? She's the love of my life. Trust me, son. Divorce her. Your mother is that pure and close to the deen. That's one thing. Marry her. Versus my parents, sad reality, like the average Muslim parents today, just, worshippers of the dunya. Victims of the dunya. Whatever they went through, indigenous Muslims or Muslims who migrated to the United States, but especially if I have the understanding of, the West, technology, science, engineering, dunya, how much money you make being a doctor, and that's all that matters in life. That person, you don't have to listen to that person to that level of blindness. You understand? And that's because the motivation behind him commanding you is clear, dunya. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Fadl.
Assalamu alaikum. Regarding the proper tarbiyah for the student of knowledge, starting with the basic simple rules, and then, as you mentioned, is this for every area of knowledge?
Yes, for sure. No doubt about it. Every aspect of knowledge, you have to take the simple, clear, basic knowledge, master it, and graduate. And that is the mark of a good teacher. The teacher who is like a baby. You can't feed a baby whole food from day one. You can't feed them baby food from what? From day one. Certain types of milk, the baby isn't good. It's not good for the baby, right? You have to have fiqh of raising a child. And this student who's a beginner is like a child. And the teacher is like a parent, a mother, right? Wallahu a'lam.
how to explain a Christian, if a non-Muslim asks you what is Islam, do you explain to them the 5 pillars of Islam, or what do you tell them?
You explain to a non-Muslim what Islam is, the 5 pillars of Islam, for sure. Islam is based on 5 things, along with the 6 articles of faith. Those are the fundamental practices of Islam. And give a brief, simple explanation of the things that Islam covers, such as one's diet, such as one's sex life, such as one's income, such as one's social relationships, etc. Because obviously those are things going to be lingering in their heads. Not too many non-Muslims, Christians or whatever, most of them aren't really against believing in one God. Is Muhammad the messenger of God or not? You get the point. But the concept of Tawheed, praying 5 times a day, it's a wonderful thing. Right? Paying tax or paying alms giving to the poor, fasting, making pilgrimage, belief in the angels, belief in the last day. Now eating pork, polygamy, so on, that's a different story. You understand? So you just give a brief explanation that Islam encompasses all aspects of life. That's why I look like this. That's why I'm dressed like that. That's why I don't eat pork. That's why I don't, so on and so on and so forth. In brief. Wallahu a'lam. Fadl akhi.
Assalamu alaikum
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have a question regarding whether if checking yourself out in the mirror is considered haram or considered self-worship.
Right. There's nothing wrong with checking yourself out in the mirror periodically. Okay? Taking care and taking pride of your appearance is a good thing in Islam, in general. Vanity, no. Being stuck up, taking 1,000 selfies every 5 seconds, la. Especially not for a man. But, there's nothing wrong with that. You have iron clothes, clean clothes. You want to make sure that you're matching. How do I look? Khairan. Some brothers are more than others, MashaAllah. Some brothers are prettier than others, But the concept is, like you said, worship. And obviously that's a long discussion with regards to the selfie culture. The selfie culture. People in line, they just pull out their phone and, in the middle of the line in the supermarket, every 5 seconds is a selfie. That's an issue in itself. And may Allah make it easy. From online. وإياكم.
AJ Cincinnati, Ohio. Assalamu alaikum. هل تنصح بقراءة الكتاب في دلال القرآن ليس قطب؟
طيب. الذي أنصح به أن طالب العلم يأخذ المنهجية العلمية لقراءة كتب التفسير. بس. المنهجية العلمية في قراءة كتب في التفاسير. فإن تدرج وإن ارتقى أو ترقى إلى هذه الدرجات وهذه المراتب فهو حر. ينتفع بالكتب، يقرأ، يبحث في الكتب، يستفيد وينتفع بالكتب. والله تعالى أعلم.
AG Austin, Texas. May Allah increase your knowledge, Sheikh. What is the correct way to approach someone to ask them to teach Islamic sciences?
The correct way of approaching someone?
To teach us Islamic sciences.
Pledge the service for 40 days. Don't teach me anything. Can I serve you for 40 days? Yes or no? Not can you teach me this. Sheikh, what can I do for you for 40 days straight? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, kullu shay. Let me be your errand boy for 40 days straight. I'm with him. Obviously, we're having a bit of, inshallah, halal humor, joking, but you get the point. And the moral of the story is that if the student has any pride in him, anything in his cup, then it's automatically a problem. And oftentimes serving someone, being an errand boy, breaks and snaps that pride. You understand? Someone who has an agenda, or someone who isn't in it for the long haul or the long run. As we speak, how many brothers aren't here? As we speak. Some brothers vowed and swore, right? It won't be me. No, that's not me. That's not my personality. No, Sheikh, you got the wrong person. Da, da, da. Where they at right now? Gone. For one reason or another that only Allah knows, but I'm trying to prove a point. You get the point I'm trying to prove? Right? So the concept of a person being willing to stick to a teacher, to adhere to a teacher, right? To humble themselves for a teacher is from the first steps, from the very first things that a student of knowledge needs. For the cup to be empty and for the ego and the pride to be what? Gone. Then perhaps we can open a book or two. But as far as if the pride is there, or I know more than you, or my tajweed is better than yours, or you're not reciting this correctly because in this country, not the countries you studied in, they recite it like that. It's not gonna what?
Not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. Everyone understand this? So at the end of the day, you know, all jokes aside about serving somebody for 40 days or 4 months, whatever the case may be, 4 years, right? The master, he says, go cook the rice, go sweep the steps, right? And then, you know, he says, oh master, I came to learn kung fu. I want to learn kung fu. I didn't come to the temple to sweep and to clean, right? And then at that time, he says, such and such, such and such. While you were cleaning and sweeping and running errands, I was really teaching you things.
Wax on.
That's a real life psychology behind that, right? And one of the main reasons why we have so many problems in dawah and today is because of this. I studied with you for 1 day and tomorrow أتكلم عليك وبديعك وحذر منك. يعني كيف يصير؟ مشكلة. It's a big problem. Right? So at the end of the day, if you're a serious student of knowledge, I would go to a teacher and I would pull him to the side, say, Sheikh, would you mind teaching me? Is it okay? Do you have the time? And Sheikh, inshallah, I'm going to try my best to be diligent. I'm not like that. Inshallah, I'm going to be consistent. And that's it. Inshallah, see what happens. Wallahu alam.
Bronx, New York, TA. What are the differences between Tariq, Tabaqat, Siyar, and Sirah?
Similar, yani tabaqat, siyar, similar. Talk about history and talk about the people who lived in the different times, the different generations, their teachers, their students, their virtues, their statements, their controversies or scandals, whatever they went through. Tabaqat, yani siyar. Wallahu alam.
MA, Bronx, New York. A few. When you make sajda sahu, do you have to make tashahud or is it just one off?
When you're making sajda to sahu, you should not make an additional tashahud. You make your tashahud based off of making the tashahud. If you forgot the tashahud, you go back, you fix it, you make the tashahud. If you finish your tashahud, your salam, and you're making the sajda of sahu before or after the salams, do not make an additional tashahud. Wallahu alam.
AG, Austin, Texas. May Allah preserve and increase your knowledge. What is the correct way? Oh, here we are. AH, Queens, New York. My grandma recently died. May Allah have mercy on her. And my culture says that I can't do certain things like go to weddings or dress up too good. Is this haram to follow?
As far as a widow, then she has certain restrictions. Adorning herself, putting on makeup, so on and so forth. And that's only a widow. So therefore, there's no prohibition of you doing those things even though your grandmother passed away. May Allah have mercy upon her. So at the end of the day, your culture is prohibiting or restricting something that Islam has not, then that's a problem. As far as, the concept of you sticking with your family, you guys not going out to have a party, something like that, that's, one thing. But the restrictions, you can't go here, you can't dress like this because your grandma just died. No, that's incorrect. Wallahu alam.
AK, St. Louis, Missouri. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. If someone is praying fidya, must they feed the masakin in the locality's rate or can it be abroad? Like to use Ummah Welfare Trust than where I live.
You can pay the fidya abroad, inshallah. That's to take care of those who are poor in the city or the town or the state in which you live. But for argument's sake, there's nothing wrong with paying the fidya abroad, especially if you're sitting into a place in which the people are they're even more needy than those here in the United States or Canada or whatever. And of course, there are plenty of people that are poor in this country, whether you realize it or not. But the poverty in the United States is not like the poverty in other countries. It's like night and day, right? And anyone who's ever traveled to certain countries, he knows that. The poverty, all right? What you're living in here, a trailer home, a trailer park, a projects, whatever, the slums, versus you see something in this country, in that country, people living in like a hole in the ground. You understand? It's a difference, different levels. Wallahu a'lam.
PA Orange, New Jersey. I'm having a daughter, inshallah. Can you give some good recommendations for good names for a newborn girl?
Good recommendations for names for a baby girl. طيب يعني أمة الله أمة الرحمن, the handmaiden of Allah, the handmaiden of Ar-Rahman, similar to Abdullah and Abdurrahman, similar. Can't go wrong with that. Names of the righteous women, those who have been mentioned in the Quran, those outside of the Quran, names of the Sahabiyat, right? And if you don't want to go that route, if you want something that's more unique, tailor-made, then, you know, try to find something that is going to be unique, easy, soft, and sweet upon the tongue, unforgettable. Something that's distinct. The moment you hear that name, they know it's this one and that one. And inshallah, it has a good, solid meaning, even if it's not based off an actual historical figure in Islam, whatever the language may be. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
What if it's Tracy?
Tracy? Hey. Allah knows best. Fuck though.
New York, New York. Can you tell us about the gateless gate?
Repeat the initials again.
New York, New York.
طيب.
Can you tell us about the gateless gate?
May Allah bless our brother. Ameen. Next question.
RN, Manhattan, New York. What is the ruling on marital rape? And what is considered that, and what is the ruling on forcing assault?
Next question. We're not entertaining a question about marital rape. We've spoken on that too many times before. Next question.
RQ, Chicago, Illinois. What is the ruling on putting words like sabr, iman on shirts?
Sabr and iman on a shirt? Khairan. No problem, inshallah. It doesn't mean that you have sabr. It's not saying that you're saying you have iman. It's an Islamic term. A good term. Afi shay, inshallah.
We'll put it in the washer and dryer.
Putting it in a washer in the dryer?
Yeah.
What about it? It has to get washed? I don't see the disrespect or the desecration of the word. Wallahu alam. If you want to stay away from it, you think that it's disrespecting the word. But, I mean, there are 1,000 different words that are Islamic and Quranic terms. You understand? It doesn't necessarily mean that it is the Islamic term that you're disrespecting or desecrating. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Fadal.
Next question.
Fadal Hamza. Abir.
Sheikh, what should you expect after you pray Salatul Istikhara?
What should you expect?
Yeah, for positive or negative.
Well, it depends on how you went into Salatul Istikhara. I want to marry this sister. I like her. I think she's nice. But I want to make istikhara. After I made istikhara, I didn't see any bad signs, no dreams, no visions, prophetic visions. Nothing came to me changing my initial inclination. Understand? That's one scenario. Another scenario is you go into Salatul Istikhara, you don't want to marry the sister, but you were offered. She wants to marry you, but I don't know about this one. Let me pray. You made the istikhara, and afterwards you got a vision or a dream or something happened that could change your original inclination or strengthen. Understand? And obviously you can make Salatul Istikhara being 50-50. I don't know what I want to do. I'm unsure. I'm indecisive. Marry her, not marry her, I don't know. You pray Salatul Istikhara, and something is going to tip the scale in this way or in that favor. So different scenarios. And a big part of Salatul Istikhara is going to be based off of what you bring to the table before the Istikhara. Everyone understand this? How you feel beforehand. Wallahu a'lam.
There's
Islamic figurehead in the community and they wrong someone behind the scenes in secret, it's come to light, should you then reveal it to the community to find out if they've done that to others? Because there's a good chance that they have.
طيب. An Islamic figure who's wronged someone in the community. It came to the surface. Right? Should you reveal it to the community in case other people have been wronged?
Yes.
طيب. In general, I would say no. And that is because people who have been wronged, in most cases, or oftentimes, maybe not most cases, wallahu alam, they're going to try to get their haqq back. All right? And everyone talks. So if it happened to me, it happened, in most cases, people are talking about it among themselves, even if it hasn't reached the surface yet. But somewhere, somehow, down the line, someone, has spilled the beans. Yeah, that's crazy. That happened to me too. He took my money too on the Hajj package. He embezzled my Umrah money, what? Too. He's a dirty, rotten scoundrel. But he's our imam. Tayyib, naam, right? So at the end of the day, I wouldn't bring it to the surface, unless it was a need. And of course, there is a fiqh of dealing with scandal. Many of us are ignorant of, and those of us who do know don't act accordingly. You don't deal with scandal the same way. Some scandal needs to be transparent. And there's some things, for one reason or another, there's no point in revealing that. It's only going to make things worse. So it depends on the situation, the pros and the cons. Hikmah, fiqh. All right? And Allah knows best, and that's the sad reality, is when a person is caught doing something, then in most cases, it's not the first time that he did it. In most cases. Wallahu a'lam. Fadhi akhi.
Sheikh, what if you want to make istikhara, right? Before you make the istikhara, you have an inclination towards one decision. After the istikhara, you have a dream that seems like it's pointing you towards the other decision, but you still have that inclination towards the first decision.
Understood. Well, first and foremost is the clarity of the dream. How clear was the dream? Understand? And of course, dreams are like diamonds or rubies or any other type of precious stone or gem. There are levels of clarity. There are levels of color, the VVS, right? There's different levels of clarity. Some dreams come and go. Some dreams, some dreams are clear as day, right? It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a wet dream. It wasn't a this. It was clear as day. Let alone how you live, right? As a person, how much halal you eat, what type of money you make, how many people you talk about behind their backs, right? All of these things have an effect and an impact upon a person's dream and a person's dreams. The fiqh of dreams. You clear on that? Like a diamond. Where is the diamond sourced? How is it taken? How is it cut? So on and so forth. Look at that. It's a flawless diamond. Versus this diamond is full of carbon, cubic zirconia, so on and so forth. It's fake. So there are different levels of dreams. So that's first and foremost. Secondly is how to separate or how to differentiate between lust and desire, fantasy, versus a sign from Allah. Look at the pros and the cons. If you're indecisive, look at the pros and the cons. Seek the counsel of 2 older people, 2 elders, 2 wise people. And then perhaps you'll come out with your conclusion. If you can't figure it out through your heart, figure it out through math. I'm indecisive, I don't know, but I got 5 cons, 6 pros. Mathematically, I have to go with the what?
Pros.
With the pros. The pro. Tayyib, everybody clear? Wallahu alam. Fadl.
Sallallahu alaikum. Is it true that if a person wasted his time or opportunity to do a certain thing in the past, now in the future when he wants to do that good thing, he cannot do it as a punishment or something?
Not necessarily. Allah is most merciful, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah opens the door for tawbah. Allah extends his hand for the sinners during the day and during the night. And Allah loves for people to repent to him. So for a person to say and to make a rule that if he wasted time, if he was a loser, a spiritual loser, unfortunately, for years out of his life, he comes around to do the right thing, he won't be able to. He'll be prevented. You can't say that, absolutely. That's disrespectful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, have certain opportunities in your life left. Certain ships have already sailed. For sure. You're not 30 anymore. I spent my 30s, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, unfortunately. I'm 40 now. I want to seek knowledge. I want to do the right thing. I want to be obedient. I want to be pious in the masjid. So I can study, but I'm not 30 no more. That's gone. That's a fact. But you can't say that the law will prevent him from studying and doing the right thing. Just, but certain things, like I said, certain ships have what? And they're not coming back. You'll never be 20 again. That's gone. That decade of your life is what? You can never ever get back. But alhamdulillah, you're 30, alhamdulillah, you're 40. So there's a fiqh of tawbah. And like we said about seeking knowledge, there's a psychology of tawbah. And from the subtlest of shaitan's tricks is to play with your mind after tawbah. And to get you to despair and think it's no good. What's the point of doing it now? I wasted all of those years. You'll never ever to be good enough. You'll never be accepted, especially in an addiction to something. Right? People will always look at you as an addict, as a fiend, always. They'll never accept you. So why even, you might as well just keep getting high. What's the point? My kids will never forgive me. My son, I wasn't there for him. He'll never ever forgive me. He'll have the resentment in his heart forever. So therefore, let me what? That's a trick. That's a trick of the shaitan. Wallahu alam. Ahmed.
As a teacher, how do you balance and draw the line between being a friend or being friendly to your students and being disciplinary and being strong with them?
Balance and moderation. Balance and moderation. Being friendly with people doesn't mean that you're laxed or you don't follow the rules. Smiling, making a permissible, lawful joke, not lying, right? Not offending someone, not exaggerating, not best. But there's a limit, right? In which the whole class were just laughing and joking the whole time. The whole sitting were just, playing around. Versus you make a joke, you like, that's a different story, okay? And of course, when you have balance and moderation, you have to pump the brakes. Here is serious. I'm not joking with you. Or don't make that joke with me. That's inappropriate. I'm not your homie. I'm your teacher. And obviously that's a thin line, and that's a slippery ledge or edge, even worse than a slope. Some brothers, they can't help it. They treat their teachers like what? They're homies. Absolutely, 100%. In public, in front of everybody. And that's a problem. Right? And then some brothers, they know how to take their shots because you are my homie. But right now, in front of the people in the masjid, you're my sheikh and not my homie. So it's a difference. You understand? And vice what? Versus. We're in a class, you're not my little brother right now. You're my student. When we're here, driving here, going there, I treat you as a what? Little brother that I never had. It's a different story. So balance and moderation and knowing how to navigate, right? And of course, precaution and safety is best. So in general, the general rule is you shouldn't be a friend of your teacher, in general. And you shouldn't be too friendly with your teacher, and you have to know when not to make those jokes. So therefore, if I don't know how to navigate, then the best thing is to what? Don't make those jokes. I love you for the sake of Allah. I respect you, Sheikh, kayfa harik, and that's it. Professionalism. But of course, you have to know the nature of your teacher. You have to what? You have to know that every situation is different, huh? Wallahu alam. No. From online. Don't forget, you're not my what? My homie or my little brother right now. Huh? Yeah, right? Allah's name be praised.
MH, Manchester, UK. Assalamu alaikum, may Allah bless you all. Is it wrong to purposefully delay marriage to learn the deen?
Is it wrong to purposely delay marriage for the deen? Please go back to 40 Hadith on Seeking Knowledge, Volume 2. Jazakallah khairan. The explanation. We've given a full-length explanation on what you should do first. Marriage, seeking knowledge, or both. Wallahu alam.
And Bangladesh, assalamu alaikum.
And once again, this is the purpose of the playlists, right? The playlist shows you series in order. Oftentimes you're gonna say, I can't find this or such and such word. That's why you go to what? The library. And then you'll find this, that, like that. Wallahu alam.
What to do if someone makes me the sutra and starts praying a long prayer in a message, but I have to go somewhere?
Someone makes you a sutra and they start reciting Baqarah. You gotta go somewhere, you leave. Look, bro, I agree to be your sutra, but qisar mufassal, yani. Not with Baqarah and Ali Imran, right? That's just common sense. Wallahu a'lam.
MH Manchester, UK. If I have missed the Tahiyatul Masjid because the Jama'ah has begun, can I make up for it after Jama'ah has been
No.
completed?
You come into the masjid, they're making the jama'ah, you've prayed the jama'ah, you can sit down. There's no jama'ah less than 2 rak'ah, correct? Jumu'ah, Eidain, Fajr is going to be at least what? 2. You've prayed the 2 with the jama'ah, that is sufficient. And you don't have to make a specific set of 2 rak'ah to sit down. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
So, MH Manchester, UK. If an individual concentrated their whole skill set and basis on ulumul
What are all the countries in Central America, Ahmed?
all the countries,
Fadal, number 1. Come on.
Spain.
Central America. We're on the live stream, Ahmed. Don't embarrass us any further.
Okay.
Mexico.
Mexico,
Honduras.
Panama, Honduras.
No, Cuba's
Not Cuba, Cuba's island. All right, so we said Mexico, Panama, Honduras. That's 3.
No, Canada.
Jamaica.
No.
Jamaica, ya Allah. May Allah help us.
Third up.
I mean,
Canada?
Guatemala for sure.
Honduras.
We said Honduras, correct?
Ecuador.
Ya Allah.
Canada?
Tayyib, no, there's more.
El Salvador.
Come on, guys.
El Salvador.
El Salvador, for sure. Jazakallah khairan. Come on, we're moving. Slow, but we're moving. Huh. It's 2 big ones. Easy ones.
Nicaragua.
Ya Allah. Central America, not South America.
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Tayyib.
Central America.
There's more. Big ones. Forgetting one really big one.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Tayyib. Bismillah, we're coming up on the finish line. El Salvador.
Did you say Los Altos?
I didn't hear that.
Somebody said something.
I didn't hear it.
El Salvador.
St.
Fuck.
Lucia.
Online. Fuck that. Abdul Adud. In what century was the Panama Canal finished? The 19th or the 18th?
Definitely
18th. So in the 1700s they did the Panama Canal? Ya Allah.
between 18 and 21.
Between 18 and 21. So yeah.
18th century.
What was the first country that embarked upon a canal?
Netherlands?
Wasn't the Netherlands. That's a bad guess. What was the first country that embarked upon the Panama Canal?
Mexico?
Wasn't Russia. Wasn't Mexico.
Was it Panama?
Wasn't America. Wasn't Panama.
Canada. England?
It wasn't England. That's a better guess.
Ireland.
France.
French.
What was the country that completed it after they failed?
America.
England.
United States. Fire. From my line.
Sheikh, what was
Sure.
what was the maqsad of the Panama Canal?
It was no specific intention. It was just a fact, a Snapple fact. Aywa.
No. As in, what was the maqsad of the actual Panama Canal? Like, what was
Oh, what was the purpose of the canal?
Cut the time of travel in half.
Cutting the time of travel in half, not a quarter, but what?
More than half.
Huh, that's a big,
You'd have to go around South America.
that's a lot of mileage. Versus, the main purpose is connecting 2 great bodies of water, the Pacific and the Atlantic. Instead of circumambulating what? Going around or all of South America, which is a huge continent. And of course, there are other maqasid as well. Obviously, political status, political stature, no doubt. You know, propaganda. And some historians say that the Americans, first and foremost, bullying their way into the Panama Canal. And the different political friction that existed with regards to Panama and Colombia. And America bringing its warships, flexing its muscle. You want to let us finish this, whether you like it or not. Panama's going to be a separate country, right? Then that huge, gargantuous feat of engineering. Some say that that was the true birth of the United States as a world power. That was his induction into that list of bodybuilders, brolic, muscle, the money, the power, the strength, the know-how. All right, and that's an important part of history. Wallahu ta'ala. I mean, countless lessons that we can learn from the Panama Canal as a Muslim on a day-to-day basis. Never scorn yourself, never look down upon yourself. Because the main reason, do you know why France failed?
They failed.
The greatest obstacle of finishing the Panama Canal was what? Anybody know?
The explosives they
Nope.
used.
Not explosives.
Disease.
Getting closer. Disease, you're getting closer.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. Something so small and minute. That was the greatest obstacle of not the blowing up, not the dirt, not the people working there as if they were slaves. Tiny, small mosquitoes. And it's one of the reasons why the Americans succeeded, because they realized that that's the means of focus. Keep down the mosquitoes, get rid of the mosquitoes, no disease, no infection, we can work. So the concept of never looking down upon yourself, being too small, being too weak, being too insignificant to make a change. A mosquito weighs how much? And what type of impact can a mosquito have in a person's life? Right? Strength in numbers, a jama'ah. One mosquito by itself versus what?
Swarm.
Makes a big difference. Moving forward. No history or geography right now. Next question. Fadl. Sharia, Fadl.
Assalamu alaikum. When we're having multiple intentions for an act of worship or seeking knowledge, if we forget about some intentions, do we still get the reward, or we have to revise? Or like, let's say I'm doing it for my parents or so on, you know, but I forget one.
These are based off of intentions. So inshallah, perhaps you'll be blessed with your first intention. But there's some acts of worship in which you have to have consciousness all throughout. So it depends. Wallahu alam. Salat, mathalan, you start off the prayer with the intention of dhuhr. And then in the second, third rak'ah, you thought you were praying something else, so you lost your intention. Versus, I want to read the Quran for my dead parents, my deceased parents. I'm going to give them the reward, according to that opinion. Those who say that you can do that. So I'm reading the Quran with the intention of donating the good deeds to my parents. But at the same time, I'm reading the Quran and I want to benefit from it too. I'm worshiping Allah as well. So as I was reading the Quran, let's say, for example, I forgot about my parents. That's one scenario. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Fadl, Adam.
Sure. So like this is about witr salat. Back more for example, we pray like shafa والوتر في ركعتين وركعة. بس لما جيت هنا يعني في الجامعة في واحد صلى 3 ركعات متواصلة، الثانية 3 ركعات سجدة بين الركعة الثانية والثالثة. يعني أما واحدة الصح.
الأفضل تفريق.
ركعتين
زي ما قلت الأول الشفع والوتر. ركعتين ثم يوتر، يعني ركعة 3 ركعات 5 إلى آخره، يعني شيء وتر مو شفع. هذا أحسن شيء. أما الاتصال يعني يواصل بينها كلها فهذا جائز، لكن الأول تفريق، لكن الثاني هو بالخيار فعلا، هو بالخيار. والله تعالى هذا طبعا الخلاصة. والله أعلم. Abir, what you got for us? I see you Googling.
Just a little bit.
Huh?
Checking
The dynamics, what you got? What benefit can you give us?
not much.
You see what he said though about cutting the time in half?
Yeah.
If not more?
Definitely.
It's a huge shortcut. trade, travel, right?
Make
So
money too.
trade, no doubt.
No, like paying money when you pass.
طبعا tolls, that's right. And there's so many other benefits. Wallahu alam. طيب, inshallah, this will be perhaps our last question tonight. Fadal.
MH Manchester, UK. If I have missed, sorry. If an individual concentrated their whole skill set and bases on ulum al-adat their whole life, is that a good thing?
Basing your whole life on ulum al-ala or al-alat, is that a good thing? No, that's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. And that is because the whole purpose of everything is the ghaya. That's it. That you know, that's you know, that is the whole purpose of it, is to read the Quran with the ability to read it properly and to memorize it and understand it and practice it and reflect on it and teach it and call to it. The whole purpose is to be able to read Sahih al-Bukhari and understand it directly, right from the source. So for a person to stay busy with the tools, the auxiliary tools, his whole life, no, that's not a good thing. A big part of that life is wasted. Of course, it's best, I'd rather be studying usul al-fiqh than listening to this or watching that or doing, that's seeking ilm, but that's not the purpose of the ilm. The ilm is supposed to get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the knowledge is supposed to be a means of you becoming a nearer servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a tool is a tool. If you can fix it without the tool, you fix it what? Without the tool. And that's why master carpenters, master plumbers, master painters, anyone who's a master of his craft, every now and then you'll see him using his hands and he puts the tool down. Is this not the case?
No.
Oftentimes you see him laying it himself or measuring it himself, right? Someone who's in a marketplace, oftentimes they don't need a scale. So we talk about the streets, right? They don't what? You don't need a scale. He know this is a what and that's a wahakada. This is pure and that's what? Wahakada. So you don't use the tool if you don't what? If you don't need the tool, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. والحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد جزاكم الله خيرا